And hit record here.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of COVID Convos. I'm your host, Cyril Wong with Butlers Incorporated, and I have brought back our guest, Ginny Kellough from Palm Protects. But this time we're not really talking about Palm Protects, we're just talking about Ginny, because Ginny was actually, she had contracted COVID, and it changed a lot of things in her life. And so we're here to check in and give you like a firsthand look at like what that looked like. So welcome back, Ginny.
Thank you so much for having me, as always.
I'm so glad you can make it. We've been like dying to do this conversation for so long, and just like everything's so crazy. We're like nearing Christmas. COVID has shut us right back down again, and you're struggling with taking care of your kids. So okay, like let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Like, what was it like physically to be afflicted by COVID for you?
It was crazy. You know, you hear these stories and people that have contracted it, and some show no symptoms and some show horrible symptoms. And for me, it was crazy because I didn't even think I had COVID. I knew I was sick with something, but I didn't have the fever and I didn't have all these things. And then one day, my husband, who has a brain injury, who can't smell or taste anything, he's always asking me, Ginny, can you smell this in case, the food's gone bad or something? So he did. He said, Ginny, can you smell this? And I said, I haven't been able to smell or taste anything in days. Sorry, I can't help you. And he said, what? That's a COVID symptom. You need to go get tested. So I went and got tested, fully expecting it was going to come back negative, and it came back positive. And then really after that, things started to shift in a downward, spiral. So that was crazy to have maybe actually test positive.
How did you feel when you got the diagnosis? Like, and how did they give it to you?
Yeah, it was crazy. So this was kind of back in the days, well, the beginning of October. So they actually were pretty quick. So within about a 24-hour period, they actually texted it to me. And it comes, when you pull up your phone, and it's all it said was urgent AHS. And it was my youngest son and I had gone to get tested. So I open the text message, and it says, yes, Ginny Kellough, you've tested positive, in these big capital letters that just made my heart sink. And then I thought, oh crap, Casey's going to be positive too. And I scrolled down and it said that my youngest son was negative. So what ended up happening is I was the only one in the household that tested positive. My little guy, he had actually been sleeping in my bed because of nightmares and being scared of the dark. And so I fully thought that the whole house would get it, but no, just me. I was the only lucky one.
That's insane. That's so crazy. I know that it really affected your home life because there were certain rules that had to be implemented in terms of quarantining you from the rest of your home. So like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I had to be quarantined from the time I showed first signs and symptoms for the full 14 days. And then of course, everybody went and got tested in the family, they were negative, but I had to quarantine from them in my own house, which was especially challenging. And without, they weren't going to school either. And I was still expected to homeschool them. So here I am, sick as a dog. I'm not allowed to leave my room, literally. We're not allowed to, they're even not allowed to take the plates from my room because I've touched it. It was really strange to have to be wearing a mask in the house, if we cross paths, if at all. So that was really challenging because I'm trying to homeschool my kids from a distance and maintain that. So everything just totally fell off the rails. I thought, you know what, let's just manage our sanity here. So that was especially challenging. And then I got a phone call from AHS when it was, they were checking in to see if my signs and symptoms have gone away so that they could release me back out into the world. And this one woman says to me 2 weeks later, so do you have animals? And I said, yeah, we have 2 dogs. And she said, well, have they been quarantining with you or have they been not with you at all? And I said, well, no, they've just been roaming the household freely. Nobody told me anything. And she said, okay, so we have to start your kids quarantining over again because the dogs are a surface, so they can carry the virus throughout the house. So literally we were 28 days not allowed out of the house, no kids going, like it was mental. It was totally insane.
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, and get this, guys, like Ginny worked throughout the entire thing. She was coming to meetings and like totally red, like completely red, like the reddest I've ever seen her. And she's like, yeah, it sucks or whatever, but like I got to get through this. I got to take care of these things. But like I could tell you were exhausted. But I don't know how you soldier through it. But can you tell us about the symptoms that you were feeling, because you were sick, right? Like you weren't just like, oh yeah, like I have COVID. You were physically ill.
Yeah, yeah, I was. And actually I got really sick on Sunday night of Thanksgiving. And I had my mom, who has some heart issues, and my whole family over that previous weekend and cooking for Thanksgiving. So when I was probably the most contagious was when I had my family here. So they didn't get anything. But anyway, Sunday night, I was absolutely, fever. I felt like I've had, imagine the worst flu you could ever imagine, with, like body chills, body aches, zero energy. Like I couldn't even barely just move on my bed. So that was really depleting. And then of course this random weird can't taste or smell anything. And I also had a really funny pain in my jaw. I don't know if that has something to do with it, if I'm grinding my teeth out of stress or something. I don't know, but so that lasted a little bit. That lasted probably 3 or 4 days. And then the smell and taste thing were beginning of December, and it still comes and goes. Like I don't have 100% of my smell or taste back. So that's really weird, and just kind of depleted in energy. I was out in the garage the other day just mucking around doing a few things, and I came in and I was actually out of breath. So I feel like I'm still having some kind of respiratory, it's just I'm depleted in that respect. So fingers crossed that this all goes away at some point. But I've heard stories of people that can't taste or smell even 6 months down the road. So I'm hoping for the best. I want to taste my food again.
No doubt. You were saying that were you coughing and sneezing, or were you just coughing? And like, did you have actual troubles breathing? I don't remember.
Nope, I wasn't coughing. I wasn't sneezing. I didn't have a runny nose, and I wasn't particularly having troubles breathing. It's just if I exerted myself a little bit, I could feel like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit out of breath. But I didn't really have the typical COVID symptoms in that, it's the cough, the sore throat, the runny nose, the sneezing. I had a fever for sure, but it was short-lived. And then the smell and taste thing I had. So it wasn't, I think even now today I heard that there's another symptom that they're saying has popped up, and it's some kind of a rash on your back. So it seems like it's evolving, and it's affecting people differently. So for me, it was those. I never was coughing, and I never was sneezing or runny nose.
It's so hard to tell, like, if someone actually has COVID, because like you don't know if like how it's going to display in anybody, or how long it's going to last, and it's pretty insane. And so like you ended up quarantining for almost an entire month.
Yeah.
I know there's some challenges and that were involved. Like I think they said that you couldn't cook, and so like your friends and family actually like came out and like dropped off groceries at your door. Can you tell us about like how the community came together and really helped you in a time where we probably didn't know about these things until like you're actually affected by it? But like I know that you have some stories where people showed up and you're like, hey, I didn't even think about doing that. And like now, if you guys have someone that is in this situation, that you can be a little bit more thoughtful of how you can react to the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as I found out, AHS gives you a list of things you can and can't do, one of which is obviously cooking for your family. So that was huge. Again, that was a massive complexity. And so just speaking with people in my network, it was kind of funny because people I never necessarily would have expected that came out of the woodwork did. For example, in our BNI group, I had a couple of people come. Christina came and absolutely filled up my doorstep full of groceries. She goes shopping after she works out late at night, and she's sitting in her car waving from across the street just to say hi. So sweet. And then Anna, she's got a family of 4, works full time. She's just run off her feet. She created 3 full-on meals for us, and again delivered them to the doorstep. So it's sometimes it's in the most it's the most unexpected. People that just really go out of their way because they knew I couldn't cook or do anything. So it was so incredibly greatly appreciated. My mom literally every single day was at home creating meals for us, dropping off little care packages, again, waving from afar, because that's the only interaction we could have. So it was just awesome. It really, people band together. I also, if somebody asks me if I need anything, I will never, ever, ever say I need anything. And honestly, it was at this time, if people said, let me know if you need anything, this is actually the first time in my life ever that I've said, yes, I need help. I can't feed my family.
No doubt, no doubt. I know you kind of talked to me about it afterwards, like even after the fact, because so there was a contact method, like they AHS actually goes back and follows up on like where you've been and like accounts for all that time, and then you had to go and call people and get them tested, right? So
Yeah.
and there was also, so there's two parts to this. My first question is like, oh, tell us about the that experience of like having to call people and like the tracking, just so we have like an idea of what the accountability looks like. And secondly, I know you kind of talked about like how people reacted, or how people treated you thereafter, knowing that you did have COVID. And so I wanted to touch on that also.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so they were pretty studious. They called me, and actually, AHS had said, you are probably the best like positive COVID person we've ever talked to, because I'm super anal about diarizing everything that I do. So this came in really handy when they then had to do the contact tracing, because most people don't even remember what they did on the weekend if somebody asks them, and I'm one of those people. So I was able to literally go through everything that I had done in the weeks previous to my symptoms and go through that with them, and they went through it really like point by point by point by point. Did you wear a mask? What kind of a mask were you wearing? Was it medical grade or was it just cloth? Were you wearing it the whole time you were with that person? Like they asked really concise questions. So we were able to pinpoint exactly who was considered a close contact. And they, of course, said that they would call all these people that were considered close contacts, which they did. But I wanted to give them a call first before AHS contacted them, because it's a little bit more alarming, I think, right? If AHS is calling and saying, you were exposed, and but yeah, it definitely, all of it kind of makes you feel almost like, I could imagine what a leper would feel like or something. You're now this person that's got this virus that is just, wiping out the world and all this stuff. So of course, everybody that I chatted with said was just greatly appreciated that I had called and said, you're going to be getting a phone call from AHS. Don't be super alarmed, but you're probably going to have to go get a test and all that. And yeah, afterwards, there were some kind of comments like, I won't be the first one to see Ginny when she's back out and about and stuff like that. So, and everybody, and it's not coming from a bad place. It's just, when you're that person that's had a virus and you don't necessarily know if the virus is completely out of the person's body or if they're contagious or not. So, I didn't really take it too personally, but there are certainly comments and things sort of floating around that you could feel kind of like, oh, there's Ginny, better, stay away from her.
Ginny's a hugger, by the way. So like, yeah.
Yeah, but I had to refrain. It was hard. I had to mentally be like, don't go in for the hug. Don't go in for the hug.
No, I totally hear you. Thank you for sharing your experiences. It like for anyone that might be concerned about contraction of the virus, like, do you have any thoughts on that topic?
I always feel that stress about things is probably worse than actually whatever it is that we're worried about getting. So, I think that for all of us, just the way that we've been conducting ourselves in our family is just to totally be safe, be considerate of others, do what we can to, obviously keep contacts down, wash our hands, with kids being in and out of school and stuff like that. So I don't know. My advice to people is just be respectful of everybody else. Everybody's got to make their choices that work for their families, that work for them. And stressing about it unnecessarily isn't going to make any difference to anything. Like we watch the news every now and then just to get kind of to know a little bit about what's going on, but we don't obsess about it. The news isn't on like 24/7. Oh my God, the numbers, they're increasing. Like we're just trying to maintain sanity all the while trying to protect other people outside of us. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we all
it totally does help.
Yeah. And we all just have to have graces with each other, because if you see somebody that's not wearing a mask, well, you have to just assume that they're not wearing a mask, either because they can't for medical reasons, or they've just chosen to be anti-maskers, right? Like we can't, I don't know. I'm trying not to have any opinions about anybody. I'm just doing whatever I can,
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally appreciate that. I think that I'm going to step on my soapbox here because I've been like dying to share this. But honestly, like I recognize that. So like from a business point of view, because like we are part of a business network, like a referral network, we're always talking to other business owners. We're always talking to our own chapter members. And what I'm really getting a feel for is that everyone's tired. And I totally appreciate that. Like we are in a world right now that for the last 7, 8 months, 9 months, we've been on high alert, and that that drives up your adrenaline, right? And so everyone's got just this little bit of frenzied energy, and every single conversation that I'm having with everyone takes a little bit longer because you need to be a little bit more empathetic. You need to be a little bit more patient. You just got to show a lot more care. And it goes both ways. And I completely appreciate that people are exhausted. They're at their wits' end. No one's used to like being in this sort of situation. And I think we really need to remain vigilant. Like what we did back in March, in April, May, actually did flatten the curve. And that's why we didn't have the problem. The wave 2 was really, this is wave 2. And we already know how we can stem the infections. We just have to keep doing what we were doing. And with a little bit of patience, a little bit of empathy, we're going to get through it. And hopefully like within 6 months, like we can actually be clear. Like, and just for perspective's sake, my wife's family is in Hong Kong. They're preparing for wave 4. So just so you know, like like just for context, like this is not something that is easy to control because like they're, political ideas aside, I'm just saying like in terms of like, if we look at the facts that we have an incubation period of between 14 to 21 days, I think I heard it got extended, I don't know. But yeah, so we have a 14 to 21 day incubation period, and you don't know how long you're infectious during that time or when those symptoms start occurring. Primarily, I know that it has to do with droplets, and actually surfaces has been like one of the best things that have been controlled by most cities and healthcare systems. So like honestly, like if we can just remain, like keep it up, guys, like we can get there as a team and have a little bit more patience. And if anything, like if you guys want to be super proactive, show some love, like get out there and spend some time with people, show people that you're there, you're part of the community, support local, because like right now everyone needs, everyone needs that helping hand, and do the free stuff, like share a review, hit up your friends, see if people are okay, like, just offer a helping hand where you can. So yeah, that's my soapbox rant. But yeah, lastly, Ginny, actually, you know what? I'm gonna segue back to Palm Protects because I know that like this is a case where like you were out for a month. So like how has Palm helped you, and like what can people expect if they have Palm coverage and COVID is affecting them?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Palm Protects is my business, but I'm contracted out by a company that's called Combined Insurance. And it's an ancient company. It's been around for 100 years, but it's mainly been marketed in farming communities. So I was hired to help to bring it into main cities. Now, because it's been 100 years old, it's been kind of slow to come into the 21st century. So for months and months, we've been saying, come on, we need DocuSign, because we would have to sit face to face with a client in order to issue them coverage. And so, you know, that's got complexities on so many levels. You have to be within that person's space. And I'm licensed in Alberta, BC, and Newfoundland. So I actually have to be in those provinces to insure those people. So the silver lining for my business because of COVID is it completely expedited the company, you know, getting us DocuSign. So literally because of that, I'm able to sit here at my computer and issue coverage for people, you know, pretty much across Canada now, which has been amazing because it's allowed me to stay home with my children and homeschool them. So they very quickly, you know, like they listen to what it is that we're saying. And it's because of that that I've actually been busier than I ever have been because our policies also cover for COVID. There's no pandemic exclusion. If somebody gets COVID and they can't work or they're hospitalized, just there's a whole bunch of different plans, but they are being covered. So my phone's ringing off the hook with people saying, holy smokes, I have to get this coverage and stuff like that. So it's been, I mean, obviously COVID's been a crazy gong show situation, but for me, business wise, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I've been busier than I've ever been.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Ginny, thank you so much for coming out and being so brave and sharing your story. I know that a lot of people will have a lot of curiosities around, you know, actually having COVID. And yeah, do you have any closing thoughts that like you'd like to share with the audience in terms of, hey, like if somebody does have COVID, remember this?
Yeah, totally. Yes, thank you. If somebody does have COVID, just remember it's the small things. It's you know, a little bit of food on the doorstep is a big one, you know. Just reaching out to them. Don't even necessarily ask if they need your help. Just say, this is what I'm doing for you. You're going to accept it, right? And just in general, just giving everybody the grace of whatever it is that's working for them. Mental stability is a huge thing at this point. We've been, as you say, we've been doing this for months and months and months now, and people are being impacted in all different kinds of ways, and we have no idea what's going on in somebody else's life. So we just have to be, you know, mindful of that and just do whatever you can in your own house, your space, your whatever it is that you're doing to keep others safe. And just, we're gonna get through this. This is, you know, it's a worldwide thing. We're all in this together. So let's just be human to each other. That's it.
Thank you so much, Ginny. All right, guys. Yeah, hopefully, like we'll do this again, hopefully soon. And yeah, thank you to our guest, Ginny Kellough.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, bye for now.
Bye.